Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenihan.
Hey there, Dave Lenihan. This is the podcast, and appreciate you listening, downloading and sharing, liking, subscribing. You know the routine. It's because of you this podcast is growing so fast, and you are so much appreciated. I've got another great guest this week, and let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a 40-plus year veteran of the music business. He's written with some of the greats in rock, country, and folk. You remember me talking about genres, right, and my hate for it? And, you know, people that ask you, what kind of music do you write? Well, hopefully it's good music, you know. You write with who's in the room. You write with the people that you surround yourself with. And this guy's written with them all. Rock, country, and folk, if you want to name genres. If you want some names, I can drop some names for you. Richie Havens, The Who, Uriah Heep, love them. Lynyrd Skynyrd, Molly Hatchet, Blackfoot, Greg Allman Band, Dickie Betts. These are legends. Oh, in country, the Oak Ridge Boys, Montgomery Gentry, and this guy that I think is going to become a big movie star someday, Kevin Costner. It's good buddies with our guest today. He has written for film and TV. He's got an amazing story to share and some great songs here around the dining room table. Please welcome our friend H. Jack Williams. Jack, how are you, Jack?
I'm great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. To have you. Yeah. You've got a new album out produced by Adam Box, who is drummer for the Brothers Osborne.
Right.
Not the Osborne Brothers, the Brothers Osborne. And it's a great record. And on that record, and I think this was the first single, was it Wonderful World?
Wonderful World was actually led into the album.
Okay, it led into the album. Okay. So let's listen, because you've got a very unique version of just a classic song. This is our guest, Jack Williams, on the podcast today in his version of Wonderful World.
I see trees are green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. So pretty in the sky are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Jack Williams is from the album Halfway to Hell, his latest release, and his version of What a Wonderful World. I used to do a show back in the 70s in the Cleveland area. It was on NPR radio up there called Fresh Air, and I was really happy to be a part of it. It was kind of an eclectic, progressive music show. And again, regardless of genre, we liked it, we played it. And that's one that I could have seen being a big hit. I would have played that all the time. That's such a haunting version of a song. What made you decide to record that? Had it always been a favorite, or?
Oh no, my publisher asked me to do it.
Yeah,
and they asked me if I'd do a version of it, and we couldn't wait to do it. When we did it, I think we did it a couple months. We actually recorded it a couple months before the election, and then remember. Mm-hmm. When the world got crazy right before the election, the rating of the. So, Adam, my producer, and he said, "Let's shoot the video on this thing." And he said, "Because the world has gone nuts."
Yeah, and it's still nuts.
It is, but it's not like that.
Yeah,
and the video was all about. Well, it's a wonderful world. Really? Well, yeah. Okay. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Yeah. And that's how we took that whole thing. And so all the visuals that we put in it, we had one with the riots, and we had one with a baby, and we had one with fire, and we ended. I think we ended with two people in love holding each other and praying. I think that was it. Yeah. So
that's great.
It was a great. I loved it. W. Earl Brown. No, Adam did that video, right? Adam produced that video. Adam did it on his own. I mean, the guy is just full of talent.
Hey, watch that video. It's out there. You can get on YouTube and search for it. H. Jack Williams. And you put the H in there because it's easier to find you.
Right. There's two Jack Williams. There's a Jack Williams who lives in North Carolina. He's a great songwriter and always out on the road. And every time I Googled my name, his name came up.
Yeah.
So I said... Let's put the H Jack in front of it because my name is Henry, so I don't go by Henry. But
yeah. There's so much I want to talk to you about. You've got such a great story, and you've got such great music, and your style it's unmatched. It's very unique, and I love it. I have to tell you, I love your voice and everything I hear on this record. So let's talk a little bit about the beginnings, where you came from, how it all started for you.
Well.
Songwriter first?
Yeah, after I got out of the Marines, I remember I wanted to write songs, and I remember the very first thing I ever did was I was a roadie for a band called Captain Beyond.
Captain Beyond.
Do you ever hear of them?
No.
That was Lee Dorman. Lee Dorman from Iron Butterfly. Rhino from Blues Image and Iron Butterfly.
Oh my!
Bobby Caldwell, drummer from Johnny Winter and
Legends.
and Ricky Derringer.
And
Rod Evans, the original singer of Deep Purple, put this band together.
Wow!
And
what
they
a
were
band.
Awesome.
Ricky Derringer must have been what, teen? Or Derringer back then?
Derringer was really young. No, what I meant was. Bobby Caldwell played.
Oh, okay.
Derringer.
Was Rick Derringer. Okay.
And that worked out. And then from there, I ended up being a roadie for different bands. And then I was writing all the time. And then one day I wrote something, and I took it to it was Genesis. Genesis was playing, and I had a backstage thing to Genesis. I took it to them guys, and I showed it to them. I said, "Well, that's not a song; that's a poem." And I went, and they said, "You got to put a guitar, you got to put music to it."
Yeah.
So I went back and did that, and then Richie Havens came to town. And that was probably the beginning. The beginning of my life started there, my music life, when I saw him, and I met him. And I said, I want to play you something. And he said, well, I'm staying at this hotel, and just come on by after the show. And I did. And
I read that you were banging on
I knocked on his door. I got there
as
about 10:30, 11 o'clock that night. I knocked. I would just go really light. And I could hear stuff going on. And I just and I'd sit down and wait an hour. And finally, about 2:30 in the morning, I went, And he came to the door and he says, if nothing else, you're persistent. And we became great friends. And
Did you?
Yeah, he took me to New York and
Wow.
taught me how to be me.
Yeah.
You know, he taught me how to be a person in this business. Taught me the rights and the wrongs and how to treat people. And you know, he taught me my first song. He had called everybody up. Called Clive Davis. He called everybody up. We called everybody up to bring a song, and they all threw me out. They all did. Every one of them threw me out. Said, "This is terrible." Even Clive Davis even said, "This is what you need to hear." And he played a demo of one of the songwriters, and so I came back. I was in tears, kind of, and he said, "I'll show you how this business works." And he said, "We'll go down to the studio now." So we went down to the studio that night in Soho, and he did a guitar vocal of the song. He just sang the song, nothing else.
Wow.
Gave it to me. He said, "Now go back and call them tomorrow morning. You call all those guys back and tell them that I sang it.
There you
got
go.
a better version of it."
Now you got star power.
And first place, I went. They give me a $500 advance.
Yes.
And when I got back, he said, "What did we learn?" I said, "It's who you know."
And presentation, you know.
Yeah. So that all worked out. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And there's the guy that just made up the song "Freedom" on the spot at Woodstock, and you know his career just went crazy. And so this was after Woodstock, then.
Yeah, this was after Woodstock. But I mean, he's the guy that it had rained for 3 days and 3 nights at Woodstock, and he came out. He was the first. He said, and he told the promoter to let him go, and it was like bad out there. And he went out there,
played
"Here Comes the Sun," and it quit raining.
How about that?
And so they figured he had magic, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was great. He took me. I worked with him for 5 years, and that led to working with Pete Townsend and The Who and the rest of the stuff.
I want to hear all those stories, but we got to get another song in. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You play another song, maybe from the new album?
Yeah.
Halfway to Hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to play one?
Sure. Tell us the story behind it and which one you're going to play.
I'm going to play One More Day because...
One More Day. You just did a video on this one, didn't you?
Well, we're in the middle of shooting it. I went out to L.A. and we shot it last week, and there's a couple more shots left to do in the studio with Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, we got to get Adam playing drums. Moose Brown played keyboards on it. They're going to get some shots of him and Gary Rosington.
Of Lynyrd Skynyrd.
He played on it, and he's going to be in the video. And we shot it. We shot a lot of it on Kevin property,
Cosby.
his property, and he co-wrote this thing with me. And
cool.
And,
Kevin co-wrote this. Huh?
And this is just when he sings it, the chorus. He sings it as asking God for one more day for his friend until he gets to the last chorus. And when I sing it as asking God for one more day for me. So it's basically I always talk to God like a buddy, you know. What are you doing? What did you do that for? You know, I mean, and it's like, so this was like, okay, well, if I died and I got up there and I was with him, I said, what about one more day?
More day.
If you can cut me a little slack, just give me one more day so I can run back down there and take care of a few more little things that I forgot to do. Watching the road rolling under my wheels, on and on it goes, takes me wherever it feels. Been on this trail so long, guess I'm here for good. Couldn't jump off of it now, wouldn't want to if I could. I guess you could say I'm here till I ain't no more, hoping the path I'm on leads to heaven's door. Tell you what, when I get to the end and meet the man, I'll be asking him as a favor for a long lost friend, look the other way and let me stay one more day.
It's been one of those rides, had my share of ups and downs, but I wouldn't run and hide if I had to go back around. I guess you could say I'm here till I ain't no more, hoping the path I'm on leads me to heaven's door. I'll tell you what, when I get to the end and I meet the man, I'll be asking him as a favor for a long lost friend, just look the other way and let me stay one more day. Yeah, I'm doing all right, living my life just the way I wanna. Made my mistakes along the way, but when I fell with honor. I guess you could say I'm here till I ain't no more, hoping the path I'm on leads me to heaven's door. I tell you what, when I get to the end and I meet the man, I'll be asking him as a favor for a long lost friend, just look the other way and let me stay one more day. One more day. One more day. One more day.
Acclaimed songwriter, composer, artist Jack Williams, our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast. I've heard you described as a lyrical illustrator, and I like that. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Thank you.
And that is a song that you co-wrote with Kevin Costner, who a lot of people may not know. Kevin is a musical artist, right? He's got the Modern West, his band.
He's a good songwriter.
Good songwriter.
He's got great ideas. Yeah,
You guys been friends for a while?
About 8 or 9 years now.
8 or 9 years? How'd you come to know Kevin?
I just set out I wanted to meet him and work with him, and that's what I've done my whole career. Is I want to work with that guy, and I want to work with so and so, and then I set out and made that my journey, like a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And
kind of like
most of the time I've made it. There's been a few crashes that didn't happen. But with Kevin, it was hard. I mean, there was red flags everywhere, and I finally found that he had that band you were just talking about, Modern West. I always got a band. Then I found out he had two of his players lived here, and so I found one of them, and I wrote him, and I asked him if we could get together, and we did, and he said, "Well, what do you really want?" And I said, "I want to work with Kevin." He said, "Well, you got to work with us first, and he doesn't record anything unless it's organically done within the family." So I started writing with Teddy, and we became really good friends, and we wrote a song called "Heaven Is So Far Away." First song I think we ever wrote. He sent it to Kevin. Kevin loved it, recorded it, and this fast forward to about a year and a half later, Kevin was playing at a big place in Knoxville. Yeah. Not Coyote Joe's, but something like that. And Teddy was going to drive there instead of being on the bus, and I took me with him so I could meet Kevin. And I met Kevin. He told me how much he liked my stuff, and we just sat down and just clicked.
Wow!
Just became friends and been friends ever since. I just went out there last week, took my wife out there, and took her out to his place, and he met my wife and his wife and everything. It was really great.
Pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely. And you've written together some of your songs in the Yellowstone TV?
One made Yellowstone, Heaven's Gate, but I wrote that with Teddy and his daughter, Lily Costner.
Lily Costner, that's right.
But I did have 4 songs that I co-wrote with him and the guys on Tales from Yellowstone, that record. That just came out not too long ago, which is kind of stories of Yellowstone. It's just so, like it says, Tales of Yellowstone. Like one on there is called "Won't Stop Loving You," and that's about how he felt about his wife's death. Because not very many people know in Yellowstone that he actually, in the very first season, there was a wife, but she got kicked off a horse and got kicked in the head very quickly, in and out. But this song he wanted to write a song about how John Dutton felt about that and about missing her. And he did a video on it, Won't Stop Loving You, and the comments is what makes songwriting being special. The comments, a lot of his stuff is like adoring fans, so to speak. Kevin, you're great. Kevin this, Kevin it.
Yeah.
But this one here, the comments are, I lost my wife a couple of months ago. This song got me through it. I lost my husband. This song got me through it. Thank you for this song. All that kind of stuff are the comments when you go to and watch that video, and that's what makes it really great.
I was going to say, as a songwriter, that's the payday right there.
It is.
And
It
that your
is.
song touched somebody and
It is.
helped them through hard times. Yeah, that's incredible.
That's what it's supposed to be.
That's a gift.
I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it, when you can touch somebody.
Yeah. So you talked about you'd see people that you want to work with, and you would make it your goal. I'm going to work with that person. So when we left the conversation before the last song you played, you talked about from Richie Havens. You decided that you wanted to work with Pete Townsend of The Who. So, and you did. So
It started out with Roger Daltrey. Actually.
Roger Daltrey did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on my way to work. I was a chef. That's what I
was going to ask you about that too.
I was
Your
always
share.
a chef
Yeah.
to make a living. It was in Atlanta. I was a chef at the Abbey. Still there.
In
The
Atlanta.
Abbey's still there. It's a church, a high-class restaurant. And I was on my way. I had my whites on. I had everything on. I did have a little cassette with 3 songs that I had roughly demoed. And I saw these guys outside the hotel. I think it was, at that time, I think it was called Stovers. I'm not sure. But anyway, there was a bunch of guys in blue jackets. And I looked real closely. It was like at a stoplight, and it said The Who on the back. So I pulled in. And I walked up to the first guy. And I said, "What's the chances of meeting Roger Daltrey?" And he said, "Slim and none."
Slim and none.
And I said, "Okay." And I turned around. And he went, wait a minute. What do you want to meet him for? I said, "I'm a songwriter." Wait a minute now. He loves songwriters.
Wow.
And that guy, Doug Clark, is what we're still best friends to this day.
Are you?
And he made a phone call up, and Roger said he was busy. He said, "Get him a room. Have him hang out. We'll catch up later." So I was in my whites, and I said, "Well, this is really awesome." I said, "But I can't go to the Who show in my chef's coat." So they got a limousine, and Doug took me to my house, and my wife standing outside going, "What the heck are you not doing at work?" And I said, "Well, I'm hanging out with The Who."
With The Who. Yeah.
And I said, "You can come too." And she didn't want no part of it.
Oh, boy.
And that introduction, I'll catch up with him later, lasted 3 months. And I went on the road with him, and every night it was too busy. Every night it was too busy. Every night it was too busy. Every night. And it ended up in Boston, and they signed me to my first contract. That's when him and Pete called me up to the room, and I mean, I'd gotten to know the guys, but I had never been able to play my songs or nothing. It was just like, and then they signed me, and needless to say, I lost my job at the Abbey.
I was going to ask you that.
And I had to patch up a marriage that was about over, but
Oh, boy.
but it was great.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from Pete. That's what I did. That's what that was. It was a school.
Now, did they record some of your music?
No. What they did, but what it was, I didn't go over there. They were there. So the deal was that 2 or 3 times a month I would send Pete songs that were written, and then he would call and he would critique them.
Wow.
And that's where I learned. And then that's what led into the Uriah Heep thing, because I started getting really confident, and I had written some pretty cool songs by then.
Oh, yeah.
And
they did a few of your songs.
Uriah Heep did, they did. I was the only outside songwriter outside the band that Uriah Heep ever used.
Well, I saw them in '75. It's a great show in Cleveland. Yeah. So that's fantastic.
David must have still been. No,
David was still with him. Yeah,
he left in '76.
Yeah.
That's when I started working with him. I was in '76.
And then passed away, unfortunately, right? But that was a great band.
Ken Hensley. Ken Hensley. He was like my Richie Havens. I mean, he saw my talent and he wanted to help me grow. And so that's how we did it. And and my time in England, it was great. I was young. I got to meet all the rock stars, and I got to hang out with them. And it was, for me back then, that was like
studying abroad, but studying the craft of songwriting and rock and roll.
I mean, one night
it's a dream.
One night we were at Ken Hensley's studio in his backyard, and George Harrison walks in.
You're kidding me.
Alvin Lee's there. Simon Kirke and Mick Ralphs from Bad Company. That's who played on the demo. That was the guys that played. And they were just played on my demo.
Unbelievable. Mick Ralphs, who's in Mott the Hoople too, wasn't he?
Bad Company.
Bad Company.
Mick Ralphs and Simon Kirke were the rhythm section of Bad Company.
Unbelievable. Man, I'm telling you, that is an education. And they played on your demo. Fantastic. It's wonderful. Well, let's get back to this new album, Halfway to Hell. How long has it been out now? Just recently it came out, right?
Yeah, a couple months.
Yeah. We've got another song here that I want you to talk about a little bit about, The Man That You Know. And there's a story behind that one, right?
Big story.
You want to tell it before or after?
After.
Okay,
good.
let's play. Let's listen to it. This is from Halfway to Hell. Jack Williams is our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast. It's a great album, man.
Well, I've broken and twisted and crossed that line. Did some things that a man shouldn't do. When you hear all the stories long after I'm gone, remember the man that you knew. Just remember the man that you knew. I've been piling up weight, bound for them to scale. And one side may be missing a few. Though when you testify, son, I want the state of my soul. Remember the man that you knew. Just remember the man that you knew. No matter how angry I was at the world, I never brought home a fight. With my heart wrapped in barbed wire, I kept that all hidden from you. When people go and tell you only half of the truth, just remember the man that you knew. Remember the man that you knew. When I'm long past the bridge between this world and after, and the truth's left to rumors and fools, and the bad stories start to replace all the good ones. Remember the man that you knew. Just remember the man that you knew.
Jack Williams is our guest. This is the Songwriter Connection podcast. This is from his album Halfway to Hell, recently released, and it's a great song, great story behind it. And I want to talk to you about that, Jack. And I also want to talk about the production, because it's the production of this record is just absolutely fantastic. But first, I got to take a little break. We'll be right back with Jack Williams, our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
Hey, thanks for hanging with us. This is the Songwriter Connection. Jack Williams is our guest. What an amazing guy. We just listened to the song, The Man That You Know, from the new album, Halfway to Hell. And there's a story behind that song. We're all about the stories behind the songs, Jack, on this show. It is the Songwriter Connection. So tell us about that. Did you co-write it with anyone, or was this all you?
No, I co-wrote it with Troy Johnson and Adam Box, but the idea was
Adam
mine.
Box, by the way, you're a producer,
right?
Which we're going to talk about. Go ahead.
The idea was mine. What I wanted to do is, my studio is right across the hall from my son's bedroom, and I'm trying at the same time. When I write stuff, it all comes from my story, but sometimes I have to use a little license. Mm-hmm. And this was, and think about cinematic stuff. In this particular song, I had this idea where I wanted to write a song about a guy that had a shady past. Mm-hmm. As I do. Not as shady as some people, but still. And came out of it. But then I also wanted to put somebody like Dillinger, somebody like Capone, somebody like Jesse James, Frank James. Frank James was married, had kids. And what they would say to their kid when they know they might die, and they go, you know, when it happens and I do die, you're going to hear some bad stuff. You might.
Yeah.
You probably will. Mm. People will probably talk. Just remember the man you knew. Uh-huh. Just remember that when you hear that stuff, that takes you down, just remember the man that you knew, because the man that you knew, you loved him and he loved you, and you had a great life. Don't worry
message.
about what people say. Just remember that man. That's what that song was
very
about.
Cool. Very
and
cool.
Adam really brought it to life. And Troy Johnson played the guitars on. He's one of the best in town. He's one of the best singers. I mean, he is probably the best singer in this town, in my opinion.
I got to tell you, I'm just so impressed with the production of this album. It's the sound. And Adam, your producer, Adam Box, he's a drummer, right? So that's really affected how this thing was put together, isn't it?
I think so. I think he could make it hard on me at any given day, because he'll start off and just put an acoustic guitar down first, a scratch acoustic guitar, and then he'll go out and he'll play his drums, and he'll play live the whole thing, just as if there was a whole band there, and then bring me back in and have me cut a vocal to that. Yeah. And that got hard at times.
I bet.
And his patience, I'm sure his patience were very thin, but he got it. You know, if I couldn't hear the count, or if I couldn't hear the tempo, he would just count me in. He'd just go, 1, 2, now.
Point at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
It was great.
Yeah, it's great. And I encourage you to find it. Halfway to Hell is the record. Jack Williams is our guest. You were chef.
Oh, yeah.
And you had a chain of restaurants? Did I read?
No.
No?
No. I was a chef from day one. I mean, from the time I started writing songs, I was a chef. I wasn't a chef, but I mean, I ended up being a chef.
Yeah.
But
at some nice restaurants.
I started cooking, and I wanted to be that guy. Uh-huh. I wanted to be, just like I want to be a great songwriter, I wanted to be a great chef. Mm-hmm. And so I studied under the masters. Back in the 80s, early 80s, very early 80s, I worked for a guy in this town called Ziggy Eisenberger, and he had a restaurant called Ziggy's. Oh yeah. And it was over on West End, right around where Capitol Records is right now. Okay. And he had just won the German Food Olympics with a dish that he had created called a turkey roulade, which was a piece of turkey flattened out, pounded out, and then he put pate in it, and he put ground turkey in it, and he put all these things, and rolled it up, baked it, and sliced it up, and it won this awards all over the world.
Wow. And
I studied under him, and he gave me my wings, and then from there I was a chef. And the first restaurant in this part of the country I was a chef at, I opened up the racetrack, the Franklin on the state line.
Okay.
You know where the racetrack is up there on the state line at
Kentucky?
Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
right.
I know right where you're talking. That's where Johnny and June were married in Franklin, Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, right there it still is, but now it's all televised racing.
Okay.
But back then, there was live horses, and it was the deal. And I opened that up, and
wow.
it was cool. And then
very cool.
Then I worked all over the country, and I finally came to a crossroads where it was either, well, if I go that way, I could maybe work in the governor's mansion or
cool.
maybe even the White House.
Yeah.
And if I go that way, I could be a songwriter and have a big song. And the songwriting went out. But I still, cooking has gotten me a lot of, still does. I mean, I'll cook for people all the time still.
You had really two passions, and so you had a way, you had something to fall back on. And everybody would say, you got to have something to fall back on if you're going to be in the music business, right? Well, you were a chef, and you could do that. But yeah.
People
songwriting went out. That's good. That's great.
It did. But I still love to cook. I mean,
do you? I was going to ask you. Do you cook?
Yeah, I still cook for people. I'll still take people. I saw, or I meet somebody new, I have them over to the house for dinner and throw it down and have fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
It's still creating. It's still creating.
And there you go. It's still creative. It's a creative business. Yeah,
just like writing a song, only you're creating a meal. You still get. It's still the instant gratification that a songwriter gets.
Yeah.
You cook a meal, you serve it to somebody, and they go, "Wow, this tastes good." Or you write a song, you play it to somebody, and they go, "Man, I like that."
How about
or they
that?
go, "I hate it." One of the two. But you get the instant gratification, and I think that's what artists do. What they do for they like that instant. Man, that was you. If you're building a house, that's creating too, but you got to wait 6 months until that house is done, and then somebody comes up to you and goes, "That's a beautiful house."
Yeah. Yeah. I've never heard that comparison, songwriting to cooking, but if it really makes sense if you think about it. You put all that time and effort to preparing the meal, and then boom, you serve it. And it's the same on songwriting. You can put as much time as you want in that song until it's ready. And then you bring it out and you serve it. Well, it's just a great analogy.
And to add to that, one of the greatest chefs I ever worked with, one of the things he taught me and it stuck with me, and it was the same thing with songwriting. When it got down to it, I said, "How will I know they'll like it?" And he said, "You taste it as you go, Jack." And he said, "And in the end, you taste it. And if you like it, if it really tastes good to you, pretty good chance that 95% of those people out there are going to like what you." He said, "But if you taste it, you go, oh, it's a little salty or it's a little bitter, and you still serve it, they're going to go, it's a little salty." So you make it taste. And songwriting, I think every songwriter, if he was to tell the truth, when you write a song, if you cut some corners and you finish it and you go, "Yeah, that's really good, but it could be better, but what the hell, I'm going to leave it the way it is." Somebody else might not fall off their seat until you go, "This is the best it could ever be. In my mind, this is a great song." Most people will be touched by it.
That's cool. I just flashing back to songwriting sessions that I've had, and you're creating that. You saw taste as you go, you said, and that really struck me because, we'll get maybe we're working on a chorus, let's say, and we get that the way we run it. It's like, okay, hold on, this is kind of a taste as you go. Let's just get that much of it on tape, and record it on our phone so we don't forget, and then we'll play it back. Yeah, or maybe not. Maybe it needs a little salt or that. Same thing. You get part of the chorus, and you've got to lift there. Let's get that down and let's just really examine that. Taste as you go. That is really a cool idea. I like that.
It's really. I think it's a good lesson in life. Period.
Yeah.
taste as you go. And even if you're making a new friend, check it out as you go along. Make sure you're doing everything to be a good friend. I think taste as you go is a good motto.
I was going to say, I'm going to write that down in my hook book. Taste as you go. That's right.
Because, and what he would do, that was Ziggy, as a matter of fact. Ziggy was the one that taught me. What he would do is when you'd come to work, when you'd all punch in and you'd come to work, no, I'm sorry. I know where that came from. That came from Opryland. When I first got here, I went to work for Opryland Hotel.
Okay.
And Opryland has when you put everything in your locker and you change clothes. I don't know how it is now, but back in those days, probably the same. You change your clothes, you put your whites on, and you go down this tunnel, almost like coming out of a football field. You go down this tunnel, and then there's this great big banner. Yeah. And I think it's painted into the wall, and it says, if you don't have the time to do it right, where the hell are you going to find to do it over?
Oh, that's strong.
And then you'd walk in, and the chef, there would be a big box of plastic spoons, and everybody would grab 10 plastic spoons and put them in their pocket because you couldn't taste with your finger.
Of course not.
So if you taste as you go, you use a little spoon, you taste. Because I was a saucier. That's what I was. I made soups and sauces. So I'd have to taste as I went. So I'd taste the spoon, throw the plastic spoon out. Always that way. So those are the two. Yeah, it was Opryland that put that in my head.
That is really cool. It's an interesting story. Now, last we left your musical journey, you were in England working with Uriah Heep. But then you got back to the States and got associated with these guys out of Florida, right?
Well, I actually met Ronnie Van Zant, Alan Collins, and those guys. I actually met them in England.
You did?
In 75. I met them there.
They toured with The Who, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's right. And they came back on this tour, and they were just...
Yeah, they toured with The Who, and then...
Superstars.
And I met them briefly. And then when I met them from that briefly, not really, not best friends or nothing, but when they came into England to play Nebworth, the festival, that was the most famous festival because they opened up, it was... They opened up for the Rolling Stones. Wow. And Todd Rundgren opened up for them.
Huge Todd Rundgren fan. That's
right. Todd Rundgren, Lynyrd Skynyrd. And it was all the festival. And they burned that stage up. I mean, the Rolling Stones stumbled with coming out on it because they had just finished Freebird. And in England, I've still got pictures. In England... Or you can find pictures online of that crowd. There was 200,000 people there, and they all had Confederate flags. This is British kids.
British kids.
And Ronnie and Alan just tore it up. And we got to be really good friends. I stayed there. They came home. Then they came back again in 77, and they played a week, 4 or 5 dates at the Rainbow Theater. And I've actually... I got a bunch of pictures of my daughter with them, and I was going to show you. I'll show you later.
Yeah.
Pictures of them with my daughter at the Rainbow Theater, and that's when we really, really got to be really close friends. And that's when Ronnie suggested that, why don't you come back? And when you come back, why don't you come to Jacksonville? And I said, okay.
Jacksonville.
I came back down and started hanging out with all the guys from 38 and them, and Ronnie and I would go fishing, and Alan would take me jet boating, and Gary and I we went. That's how far back Gary and I go, and that's why I think he played on my record, because that's what friendship.
That's what friends do. Yeah, that's something. 77. So that was the year in the fall that the plane crashed.
It was right before the plane. I was still in England when the plane crashed, and then I came home, and I kind of hung out with Gary and Alan while they convalesced.
Yeah.
For a while. And it was a pretty sad time.
Oh, I bet it was. Yeah. Gary was in that plane but survived it, right?
Mm-hmm. So did Alan.
Yeah.
Alan's demons killed him.
Oh boy. What a story. So from there, you got involved with some great acts, and
from
just
there
kept on writing.
I was in Jacksonville, and of course I worked with them guys, and then I hooked up with Dickie and Greg.
And Greg Allman? Oh.
Yeah, and that's when Nashville came about. I was looking for a place. I needed the Uriah Heep days were over. That contract was done. I had worked with them 5 years, spent 5 years in London and in England, and it was so. I mean, I could have gone back. Mm-hmm. I could have, but I was like, well, I'm a songwriter now. I've got songs on Gold Records. I've done this. I've done this. What do I do? And Dickie Betts said, you do what all songwriters do. You move to Nashville. Okay. Yeah. And so I moved here, and he helped me out. He had his manager, Joe Sullivan. You remember Joe Sullivan, Sound 70?
No.
He managed Charlie Daniels.
No kidding. Okay.
He had him call around to some of the publishers and got me some meetings.
Isn't that cool? Wow.
One of the publishers I got a meeting with was Noel Fox at Silverline Gold Line. Oak Ridge Boys owned that
Oak Ridge
company.
Boys,
and he was an Oak Ridge boy in the beginning, Noel. And he was a hard-nosed publisher.
Yeah.
And he said, what you got? And I played my Uriah Heep stuff. Uh-huh. And he said, that ain't, what the
that ain't
hell
country.
is that? You ain't no songwriter?
Yeah.
But the Oak Ridge Boys...
Maybe
Dwayne,
not, but those are gold records.
But Dwayne heard it.
Yeah.
Alan. Mm-hmm. And he heard it, and he said, just put him with the lyricists. Let him play the music and put him with the lyricists. And at that time, it was Steve Earle.
Steve Earle, love him.
Larry Willoughby. Dave Gibson. Jimbo Henson.
Gibson going to be on this show, by the way.
Yeah, Gibson. Dave and I are really close.
Are you? Yeah. Good.
Yeah, we just
he lives right down the road, I guess. Not too far.
We just got back to writing again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great songwriter.
In fact, we were in that company together, and then when he had his publishing company, Savannah Music, he signed me.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Remember Savannah Music? Yeah. Well, very cool. We'll have to talk about that when he's on the show.
When's he on?
I have to check, but he's coming up. And here, I got my book here with me. He's let's see here. Gibson's coming up June 1st is when it publishes, but we're going to record it here April 4th.
You better get your tissues out. He's going to have you laughing the whole time.
Oh, I know. I bet.
Crying.
I'll bet.
Heart.
Yeah.
He does nothing but laugh. And don't forget to ask him about his children's books.
I won't. It's Mr. Froggy now. Or what,
well, it's another one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got three characters out there.
So that is a heck of a journey that you've been on. So now you're here in Nashville. You're writing for the Oak Ridge Boys, and you had some success here writing.
Yeah, they cut up a couple of my songs, and then one thing led to another, and then Warren Haynes, and I wrote a song, and another friend who's not with us anymore, but we wrote a song in the middle of the night called "Just Before the Bullets Fly."
I was going to ask you about that song. That's a cool song.
And he gave it to Greg. Greg cut it. Excuse me. Greg cut it.
Yeah.
And called his album "Just Before the Bullets Fly." And then he put on his greatest hits.
Wow.
And then Son Seals, the great blues guitarist from Alligator Records, he cut it, and then he put it on his greatest hits album. Then it was in a movie with Lou Diamond Phillips and Keith Sutherland called Renegades.
I remember that.
It opened up that movie. And then not too long ago, a guy named Coco Montoya just cut it.
Wow.
It did. It's been a great song for me.
That's a song that the gift just keeps on giving.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I love the song. I mean, the song is, and on the record you got Danny Toller playing guitar. You got Chuck Lavelle playing keep. I mean, his piano playing is just awesome.
Off the charts.
And Greg and I got to be good friends through that. And so yeah, those are all part of the journey, I guess.
So cool. What a journey. Fantastic.
It's still going.
So what you doing today? Tell us more about. We just cut the video. I know you're working on the video for the new song. You got the new album out. What else? What's coming up?
I'm just writing some new songs now. I want to write some songs. I'm hoping that I can write some songs that are good enough for Kevin's new movie. He's going to have a movie that he's going to start filming called Horizon. It's his dream come true. It's like a Western, 5-part Western. And he starts that in August, and I'm hoping that I'll have a couple songs in that are good enough to make that. And then this year, I'm hoping that the new video will help blow things up, and maybe I can get out there and do some big dates with some people.
I'm sure it's going to happen. Yep, put out to the universe.
And I'm in the middle of a book that everybody keeps wanting me to write about all my escapades in the rock and roll world. So
I was going to say that'd make a great book.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. I'm about halfway through.
Wow, and you've got pictures that you can share. That proves the point.
Yeah,
yeah. What would you call it? Do you have a name for it?
No,
not
yet. No, because I start I found a place to start from my darkness in my childhood, and I sort of started in a place. So it's going to go from, it's going to go from this darkness to out into, I wouldn't say successful, but successful in my world anyway, coming from where I came from.
You mentioned the darkness in your childhood, and I didn't know if I would bring this up, but you have this powerful song that I've seen the video of, called Beat Me Again. And not knowing a lot about you, that was the first song I heard. And you did have a dark past.
I was a serious victim of child abuse.
Yeah.
My parents, and I was adopted, and I was the only child. So the questions that always went through my mind while they were beating the hell out of me was, why'd you ever adopt a kid?
Yeah.
But, I came out of it, and I didn't end up in a bad way, and now I got great songs that I can write from it, and I can help people. Not too long ago, I did the Frank Brown Songwriter Festival, and this was one of the songs I closed with this song, "Beat Me Again," and I had more people come up to me and say, "God, you gave a voice to what I went through," and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to. When we did the video, you saw the video. So we did a duet.
Yeah.
And
who is that lady?
Brandy Zidane.
Oh, she's fantastic.
And the idea was I wanted to do a video on this because a duet on this. I wanted to have, because I said, hey, guys aren't the only people that get abused. Girls do too. So if a man sings this verse, a girl sings this verse, and we both sing the chorus, that'll give somebody. I'm still hoping that we can find a national child abuse organization to pick up that video and help some kids out.
I hope
because
so.
if I can make it out of that, they can.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to hear one more song. Should we play that one, or do you want to play one live? You want to play this one? Because we just talked about it. So this is called "Beat Me Again," and this is on the new record that I encourage you to find. And find the video, because it's very powerful.
Yeah, the video is very powerful.
Yeah, this is from the album "Halfway to Hell," and our guest, Jack Williams, on the Songwriter Connection.
When I was a boy, you whipped me like a slave. I dreamt about pissing all over your grave. Left that cemetery feeling the same. For years I carried round all the blame. For years I carried round all the blame.
I never feared you, I stood tall and brave. Your fists flew at the years you ranted and raved. The bruises all faded, but the scars they remain. I plunged those dreams in my veins. Oh, I plunged those dreams in my veins.
Yeah, today it ends. Today I'm in. Today's the day I forgive you of all of your sins. Those hateful memories gonna come to an end. 'Cause you're never gonna beat me again. No, you're never gonna beat me again. Back in the stone garden, hat in my hand, I left as a boy but returned as a man. It's been a hard trail I've had to endure. I stand here before you with my sober heart pure. I stand here before you with my sober heart pure. Yeah, today it ends. Today I'm in. Today's the day I forgive you of all of your sins. Those hateful memories gonna come to an end. 'Cause you're never gonna beat me again. No, you're never gonna beat me again. You're never gonna beat me again.
Great songwriter, great performance, and really a great album. I love the sound of this record, Halfway to Hell. And Beat Me Again is this song. It's an incredible video. Check it out. Google it. You're going to find Jack Williams, okay? And just happy to have you as a guest today, Jack.
Yeah, it's been great.
I imagine writing that song was pretty cathartic, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, W. Earl Brown, I think I have to give him credit. He got the story out of me, and then he wrote those words, and it was great because he was able to we just dug it out, and got it out of there, and that was probably halfway through the record. That's when I started really saying, well, you know what? Let me just go ahead and now that's all I do now is try to find little stories down in there that need to be told.
That's good. Yeah, fantastic. And that gentleman you just mentioned that you co-wrote it with, he's a big actor as well. People have seen this guy.
Yeah, he is. If you've seen Deadwood, he's Dan.
Dan on Deadwood.
He was in Something About Mary.
Played the younger brother.
Yeah.
Beans and wieners. Rice and beans.
Right.
Yeah.
He's in a brand new movie with Sandra Bullock called Unforgivable.
Oh, yeah.
It's just rip your guts out.
Yeah.
He's great. He's a great actor. He's a great songwriter. Good guy.
That's right. He is in that. I saw that film recently. It's a very good movie. Yeah, very good movie.
He's a parole officer, I believe.
I think he was the sheriff. And he accidentally was killed in the movie. That's what started it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a great film. Yeah, he's a great actor. And a co-writer. Yeah.
And he's from Kentucky.
He's from Kentucky, huh? Oh, that's fantastic.
He's a Kentucky guy.
Jack, I can't tell you how great it was to have you here to share your songs and your story, your awesome story that should be a book here around our dining room table. Just a pleasure to meet you and spend some time with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks
I'm
for having me.
Following your career and keeping an eye on you because you're doing some magical things. It's great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lanahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.